And then the phone in the next room rings, and that was the first phone call from the pirate. Mr. David, the pirate wants to talk to you. I said, what? No, A.B. Dumagat was shot during the boarding. Mr. David, the ship is getting chased by pirates.
I haven't handled the first one yet, and the second one going.
Yeah.
My goodness.
So, don't put it in the podcast. The pirate took me up to the bridge wing, made me kneel down and put his gun to my head. Now you will die because of that.
Wow. Welcome to the Voices of Impact, the podcast where we go behind the slides, behind the workshops, and into the stories of people who shape learning, leadership, and transformation. Hi, my name is Hamid.
And my name is Nadir.
Our today's guest is someone who has had a life and career story like those you would only see in action thriller movies. In 2008, when two Malaysian vessels were hijacked by Somalian pirates in the Gulf of Aden, he was the head of emergency responses team. For 43 tense days, he negotiated with armed pirates, coordinated international agencies, supported terrified families, and helped bring nearly 80 crew members home safely. That pressure cooker experience is now the backbone of his crisis management and crisis communication program, teaching leaders to think clearly, act fast, and stay steady when everything is at stake. Join me to welcome David. Welcome to the show, David.
Good to be here.
Fantastic. Okay, David, take us back to that particular day. How did you get into it? Did you receive a call that the vessel has been hijacked, or how was it?
Okay, so in the organization that I worked in, we had a very structured emergency response team. Because we had 120 ships worldwide, right? So we had small teams that rotated every week, and each team had a duty manager and support staff, about 3-4 support staff. And when a call comes in, whether it's a collision, whether it's a fire on board the ship, or any emergency, they would call the duty manager of the day, right? Who carries a hot phone. And then he escalates it to me as the emergency response team head. And I'm on call 24/7. I have a emergency response team head number 2, which if I'm going for a holiday, he takes over, right? So on that particular day, it was about 10 o'clock at night. And the phone rang. My wife was getting into bed. I was going to get into bed, and the phone rang, and I walked out from the room and took the call in the next room. She's used to this, so many times the phone will ring. And so I went to the next room, and the duty manager is saying, Mr. David, we got a call from the ship, and the captain says he's being chased by pirates.
Wow.
I said, what? Where is she? And she said, somewhere around the Gulf of Aden. I said, chased by pirates. Can you just call the captain and ask him more details, right?
Reconfirm.
Yeah, reconfirm.
Is it true?
I mean, I have no idea what he was talking about. So then within 5 minutes, he called back and said, Mr. David, I can hear gunshots on the phone.
Wow.
And the captain says he's 100% sure they're getting chased by pirates.
Wow.
Right? So that was the first call. So, and, I told him, I said, look, activate the emergency response, full blown, and we have to meet in the crisis room. So and we have this drill that we have run through. You have to be in the crisis room within 60 minutes. Nobody in the team can say, oh, I'm doing this or doing that. Everybody's in the room. Yeah, so that was the first call.
Wow. Quite an experience.
Wow.
Okay.
Well, I cannot actually imagine the pressure and that kind of an environment, right? What were you feeling like knowing that the lives of 80 people are now depending on your negotiation skills in a way?
Well, Um, I didn't think to that extent because we're not trained negotiators. We're not trained negotiators, and we try to follow a process. So before I get on the telephone to talk to the pirates, 3 hours before that, I sit in a room with a specialist, and these specialists come from all around the world. They are kidnap and ransom specialists.
Oh.
Right? But they only come for 7 days, and then they will leave and rotate with another specialist. Right? Their role is just to advise. So for 3 hours, we drill and drill and drill. What if this happens? What if this happens? What if this happens? What if this happens? And during my training programs, this is what I will teach people to do. What if this happens? If you have all the what ifs done, then you're ready to execute, right? You just don't go into a room and pick up the phone and talk to the parents. Right? So, yes, the danger was there all the time. Things could go south very fast. Okay? So it was a matter of keeping a cool head and following the process and having all the scenarios ready and then hope for the best.
Okay. So, David, pirates, they do not have a word called rule in their vocabulary, right? So I'm just really wondering and trying to imagine how could the negotiation with them actually take place? We don't follow our rules.
Yeah. So when you're negotiating, it changes all the time. The playbook for negotiation in any kidnap and ransom situation changes by the second. Okay? And because you're not sitting in front of the person and the person is miles away and it's on telephone, you need to establish a trust with that person, And, good morning, how are you? How's your people? Is your team okay? Is my team okay? Start get a bromance going if you must. Okay, so and get him on your side. He needs to trust you, and then you can move forward, right? So it changed every day. It changed. In fact, it changed 3 times a day.
Wow.
The rules change 3 times a day, and the threats come fast and furious.
Wow.
Threats from starvation of the crew to killing to taking the ship and running it aground in Somalia.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and you got to deal with those threats all the time.
Were you negotiating with the same person, or was it different people at
No.
each time?
So once they kidnap the ship, there's about 20 to 30 people on board.
You mean the pirates?
Yes.
Wow.
And
Like
they're
a
all
mini
carrying
army.
And they're all carrying AK-47s and stuff.
So, David, going through these negotiations with them, I was just wondering, was it like with the same person every day, or did they like today Hassan is in charge, next day
Hussein,
somebody else?
Abdullah, yeah.
So it's the same person.
It was the same person.
Yeah, but the person is not the boss.
Okay.
He's just a communicator.
Oh.
He brings the message from the boss.
Because he knew English?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But even that, his English wasn't really very good. He's a Somalian, so...
I'm pretty sure if his English was good, he would not be a pirate.
He didn't necessarily graduate from Oxford.
No.
right?
And the best part was when we were doing the first ship that got hijacked. And then the second ship got hijacked 10 days later.
Oh.
Okay. So when the second ship got hijacked, it was all quiet for 3 to 4 days. And I called the captain and said, "What's happening? Why are they not making any demands?" And the captain said, "Sir, they haven't found a communicator."
Wow. For real.
Yeah. And then the following day after that, they kidnapped a school teacher and made the guy a communicator.
They literally kidnapped
Yes,
an English
because
teacher.
when he came on the phone, he was like frantic.
My God.
I'm a school teacher, they asked me to do this, and
Wow.
yeah.
That's unbelievable. Next level. Okay.
So-
All right.
Basically, there is no kind of a playbook even for you per se as well, right? So as you said, things change from a day to day, an hour to hour, minute to minute, and I'm imagining you have to make lots of decisions, right?
On the go, yeah.
And was there a moment like where you had to make this one decision that you knew you cannot make the wrong one? You didn't have an option to make a mistake.
Yeah, so every day when we negotiated, there was a standard target that we wanted to achieve. All right. So if it was 10 million on that day, we wanted to bring it down to 9.5 million or whatever. Yeah, that would be it. That would be the target for that day. Somewhere around day number 20, I think, the pirates were really agitated and said, look, we are fed up with you dragging this around, and my men are getting impatient, and I think we will be killing some of your crew.
Wow.
Right? At that point, after 20 days, I'm telling him, look, we have been talking for 20 days. Both of us want a good outcome, right? And at that day, he raised his voice and he started to make threats, severe threats. So I told him, okay, listen, we've been talking. I've been talking to you nicely, and I'm trying to help you and your team. If this is the way you want to speak, then I will put down the phone now. Please look outside the window. There is a Navy ship. You talk to the Navy ship. And I cut the call.
Wow.
What were you thinking when you asked him to do
At the moment I did that, I was like, oh no. Then I looked up around the room. We had special forces people in the room. We had the president of the company in the room. And the president looked at me and said,
wow.
Wow. Can't imagine that. That's too intense. That's too
Wow.
intense.
That's crazy.
Okay.
yeah,
All right.
there's no playbook.
Wow.
You can only prepare as best as you can prepare. And then hopefully the outcome is good.
I'm guessing whatever learning or life experiences you have had, that's what prepares you instantly at that moment when you're speaking to those type of conditions. Okay, all right. Yeah. Hard to imagine, but yeah. Okay, all right. And this morning, speaking to you, David, I learned a new term, crisis within the crisis. And correct me if I'm wrong, I learned that basically one of the things that you advocate for is make sure that you do not have an internal crisis while you are dealing with the actual crisis.
Yeah.
So I'm really interested to know, was there such a scenario happening during your negotiation with the pirates?
Too many.
Too many.
Too many. I think you can minimize crisis within a crisis if you're prepared for normal stuff. Okay, if your organization has a fire in the building and stuff like that, you can practice and prepare for it. But when you talk about kidnap and ransom, it's very difficult because anything can happen, right? So when I say crisis within a crisis, it's things like at that point in time when you want to see your ship on the screen, it's not there. And that's a crisis. You have senior leaders or vice presidents who walk up and say, I want all these details. When he has no business being in the crisis room, right? And then you're saying, sorry, you can't go into the room. It's all classified inside there. Do you know who I am? So he's not helping the situation, right?
Yeah.
You have generals in the army, okay, who make press statements. We are sending our warships there. Okay?
Okay.
And there's a big picture of a warship going there, right? And this actually happened. He made a big announcement. And that day when I go on the phone and I talk to the pilot, he says, after 15 days of bringing the price, he says, our price is back up to the original price. You're sending your warships here.
Wow.
So those are crises within a crisis. Now you've made anything that's not helping to resolve the situation is going to cause bigger problems.
Wow.
That's unbelievable. Okay.
As you brought this up, when you are dealing, you could be to a certain level prepared for small fire,
Yeah.
Yeah. But when in this kind of situations where it's really complex, and as you mentioned earlier, all the stakeholders involved, they want information, they want this, they want that, and you, as the head of emergency response yourself, I'm assuming you do not have all the details that you require for yourself. But during this kind of a, in a way, complex situations where we don't even have the necessary information for you to make the decisions, how do you actually make the right calls?
Information is very, very important. Okay, it doesn't matter whether it's this kidnap or whether it's some other. We're living in an age where the guy on the ground has more information than the guy in the office. All right. So at that point during the crisis, there was a room adjacent to the negotiation room, and we had everything up there on the wall. And we had a team there just calling and getting as much information as possible. And we had people in Europe who was giving us information, and everything was going up on whiteboards and all that. So whatever we could get at that point in time, we digested, sat down, brainstormed, and said, okay, let's go with this. So even in any crisis, whether it's a building collapse or whatever it is, it's important to get as much correct information as possible and get your narrative out before the guy on the ground gives his story. All right? So in this case, there were 80 crew and family members, right?
Yeah.
We had to make sure that they knew what we knew without telling too much. So we actually brought the families together and we gave them a briefing. And we had printed out FAQs, okay? In case the media or anyone asks you, this is the answer, right? And we were transparent with them all the time. So we brought them into the office like 3-4 times in a big hall. We let them ask the questions.
Wow.
And we gave them the answers, Of course, we won't tell them where the special forces are based or whatever it is that was going on, to that level. Things that they needed to know, we to tell them. Their families are okay on board, they're getting food, where they're sleeping, stuff like that.
Wow. Incredible. David, many leaders, despite being leaders, despite being, holding like extensive experience and so on, such kind of cases come up and they will freeze. How did you make sure that you could stay calm, composed, focused, and yet authoritative to manage the whole situation for those 43 days?
If you don't drill, if you're not a crisis manager and you don't drill and practice scenarios, when a crisis happens, it's going to hit you really, really hard. You will not know where to go, what to do, what buttons to push, who to call, all right? It gives you a sense of confidence that you have been through many crises, emergencies. So that gives you a starting point, a good starting point. Okay, it gives you a level of confidence knowing that you have a team that's supporting you, who know what to do. Okay, so leaders in the industries nowadays, no matter what industry, they need to pay attention to the fact that a crisis can destroy their organization.
Very true.
A crisis can damage reputations.
Yes.
People can lose their jobs. People can lose their lives, right? How important is that? You spend so much of time building up your brand, your revenue, and it just takes one crisis to destroy that. Okay? So, but they don't pay attention to crisis management. They don't pay attention to risk management. Their business continuity plans are around, oh, if the market goes this way, let's do this. If the market goes that way, let's do this, But when a crisis hits,
There is no plan in place.
there's no plan in place.
That's
and they
where
panic.
you come in.
Yeah, and they panic, right? They panic, and the team panics. Nobody knows what to do.
Of course.
Everybody has their own idea. Oh, that's chaos.
Interesting point that you brought up, right? So you were mentioning just now that the leaders, they always, most of the time, they start taking crisis seriously when it happens. So based on your own experience of decades of being as a crisis management expert, what is like the one thing that the leaders get it wrong when it comes to crisis, when it comes to crisis management or readiness?
They're not prepared. Preparation is key. The best crisis is not to have a crisis.
Wow, that's a good statement. Best crisis is
Not to have a crisis. So the initial risk management, the risk assessment is all not there or not done correctly. All right. They get a risk manager, he writes down, okay, this risk can happen. But in actual fact, you have to talk to everybody in the organization. Even the guy driving the truck, right? You need a very comprehensive risk register and action plans to deal with those risks to prevent the crisis from happening. And when it happens, then you need your crisis management plan. Okay? So you try as best as you can to prevent the crisis, but when it happens, okay, I got a plan and I'm going to execute this plan. Okay? So, yeah, that's the thing that leaders fail to see.
Hopefully that is about to change.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. In that case of hijacking again, not everyone has such a unique experience to showcase or to basically use as an example for everything that they want to teach. But you do, David. All right. So for the same hijacking case, yes, based on that, you're teaching crisis management. Part of that crisis management is crisis communication. And one of the big parts of your crisis communication teaching is one story, one voice, right? So why is crisis communication so crucial, and how does it help avoiding everyone from panicking and going all over the place?
Yeah. So the hijacking case, in my opinion, was handled so well that it brought about a positive outcome for the organization. Okay. And part of it is crisis communication, which was done very, very well. Okay. You want to have the organization speaking as one. You want to be honest and truthful about what's happening. And you want to show to the public your capability in handling the challenge. And the public starts to gain confidence that, yes, it's being handled well. But if you keep quiet, then they start to have all sorts of narratives in their head. Okay,
Theories,
that it's going
yeah.
south. The management is useless. Change the management. Change the leader. change this, change that. People are very critical about this kind of things. So it's very important to put out messages all the time, issue statements all the time. The most important one is the first holding statement that needs to come out and say, okay, we acknowledge that this is happening. This is what we are doing. We want to reassure this. All right? Before it breaks from some other source. Before it breaks from source. So you have to issue this within minutes. And that's when in crisis communication, you need to have templates for various scenarios ready. Right? It happens tomorrow, building collapses. I take this out, fill it up, and the boss signs it, off it goes. The public knows it from you, not from anybody else. Okay? So, very important, crisis communication, because it will turn the perception of your organization around from a negative to a positive.
Would you be able to give us an example of how it went with that hijacking case?
So with the hijacking case, our head of corporate comms was there. She was in the room during all our briefings, right? The room that was managing the families would give her an update on the crew on board and how the families are being managed. The logistics team will give an update on the weather, whatever not. So she takes down all this and she digests and comes out with a communique for that day and sends it out. Also, hotlines for people to call in. All right. And we had to do this in a very fluid way, because I would talk on the phone with the hijacker and he would say suddenly, I'm going to kill somebody or I'm going to do this. All right. Then we put down the phone. I need to rush across to the media room and say, okay, this is the FAQ. Hijacker will take one of the crew, go to the telephone, call your family, tell your father that you're going to die today. Father calls everybody else under the sun. And then when he calls the hotline, we already have the answers for him. Don't worry, everything's okay.
Wow.
So to that level of detail, I have to get up from here and go there because the call will come immediately.
Wow.
He might call, parents, families, they call, right? They wanted to march all the way to the Parliament House, right? So it was quite intense. And if our communications team is not on the ball, you would start to lose it.
Wow. Obviously, you've been into one of those crisis situations, which is, I would say, like with the highest stake possible, right? Because not just revenue, reputation, but humans' lives are at stake, and you have dealt with that. And based on that experience, how do you like normally transfer that knowledge and your experience into training programs, like in terms of the way you deliver frameworks, right? How do you like make sure that your attendees get that knowledge transfer from you? Because this is something that I believe they cannot get it online.
Yeah, so I have a mind map that has every tiny event in this whole crisis management program, which covers families, press, government stakeholders, internal stakeholders, external stakeholders. So everything is there. And from each one of these areas in the mind map, there's a lesson learned, which a lot of people would not know unless they've been through a crisis.
Yeah.
So by telling the story, I bring out the lesson learned. Right? I will tell the story and I'll say, what do you think you would do in this situation? For example, with this family member or whatever it is. And they would all give back their feedback. And then I will tell them what we did and how we handled it and what's the right way to do it.
Oh,
Okay. So there are a lot of lessons learned from this entire story, right? And then I will bring that lesson learned. Okay, now in your industry, let's say the LRT industry, right? If that happened, two trains collide, and there's injury, and the family members are calling you and they're making some ruckus, how would you handle it? Based on this, based on what you've learned now, right?
How do you apply it to your specific
area?
industry area? Okay.
What can you go back and do? How can you improve your SOP, your manuals, to be better prepared?
So that's the drills that you were talking about,
Yeah.
that you need to practice and drill.
Yes.
To be ready before even crisis
Yeah.
hits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think organizations do drills.
Mm.
I think they have some plan,
Take
And-
manuals.
thick manuals, which nobody reads. And when it happens, they're just winging it. So the drills are very important. Sometimes I wonder if people drills for train collisions. Sometimes I wonder whether people drill for building collapses. I wonder whether people drill for, let's say, they have an online app to book tickets, right? That collapses or that gets hacked,
Yeah.
or suddenly you lose data of your 3,000, 5,000 patients from the hospital.
How do you prepare for
How
that?
do you prepare for that? Have you drilled it?
How does it work, David, when a client engages you for consultancy or training? I'm guessing you first study the operation of that company, what industry it is, what they do, and so on. And do you identify or suggest to them crisis potentially could happen in these areas, or they will tell you their guesses?
Okay, so if I normally do my homework. And one of the things that I'll write on the board is what if.
What if?
What if, right? And I drill this to the people in the classroom. Have this mentality of what if this happens? What if this happens? So before I go into the training program, I already have their risk register ready, their proposed action plans ready, and it's not theory, it's a very practical based classroom. I will say, do you have a risk register? No? Okay, here's one. For your industry. It will even have the name of the company on it. Okay? And everybody will be sitting up. Can we have a copy of that?
That's nice.
But if it's a one-day program, yeah, I will do that. But if it's a workshop kind of thing, then I will make them think.
Yeah.
I'll make them think. If it's that company, I'll make sure they don't just bring in their directors or managers. They have to bring guys who are on the ground as well.
Yes.
Because those guys, they have a lot of in their head. They know, they're seeing the risk every day.
The practical knowledge.
Yeah. So everybody has to be in
ground.
the room, the whole range. And then workshop, brainstorm, come up with the risk register and then compare with mine and see whether you missed anything.
Wow.
Most important thing is to build a culture of preparedness. They have to start thinking safety, reputation, revenue in their heads whenever they're doing something.
Very good. It's good that you bring it up, David. So let's say for those CEOs and leaders who are watching this program and listening to your talk, what is the one thing that they should and they must know about crisis before actually a crisis happens? Is there a one important thing?
Prepare.
One word.
Preparedness.
If you don't prepare, be prepared to fail.
Okay.
Nice.
All right. As harsh as it sounds like, but I believe it is equally true.
Prepare. You build up an organization. Doesn't matter how big, You spend so much of time and effort in all your management committee meetings and looking at revenue. All that can go down completely.
Wow.
All that can go down very fast. And a lot of organizations say, okay, when it happens, we'll just hire an external consultant to handle it. It's your organization. Are you going to leave it in the hands of somebody else?
Good point again, David. And you know, you've been in industry as a crisis management expert for a few decades already, right? And obviously, you have seen organizations that thrive at the face of crisis and organizations that fall apart literally. But what do you see is the key difference between these two organizations from your own experience?
So I come from an oil and gas background. And if you look at the oil and gas background, you cannot afford to have a crisis. I mean, pollutions can be massive, explosions can take lives, reputation can be lost, and the oil and gas industry is very, very particular about risk assessment, risk management, crisis management, business continuity. I think the standard is very high. And they go through this all the time. And they report to the board of directors how the risk changes over time, how the crisis plan needs to change, how the business continuity needs to change. We are prepared. Those companies that don't do this are not prepared. And then when it hits, they don't know where to start. So the most important thing in any organization is to be prepared for. People always say, "Oh, it won't happen to me."
That's what everyone says,
That's
right?
what everyone says. It won't happen to me. We also believe that at that time, who would kidnap the whole ship and take it to Somalia and keep it there for 43 days?
Yet it happened.
Yet it happened, right? Yeah, and I can also tell you that when it happened, like I said, we were prepared, right? We had a scenario in our risk of kidnap. And when it happened, we opened up the manual and said, okay, what's our SOP for this? Okay, we are not trained. We have to call in the police and hand it over to them.
Wow.
So on the second day or third day, we had the police, the Navy, and all in the room and said, look, our SOP for kidnap is to pass it to you because it's not our area. We can handle fires, we can handle collision, we can handle groundings. So what do we do now? We asked them. They said, our SOP is very simple. We storm the ship.
Oh, okay.
That's it.
And we went and saw the higher ups, the bosses, and boss said, no. Whatever you need, you tell me, but you negotiate and you get everybody back safely.
That is the priority.
That's the priority. So yeah, we had full support from the government, from the Navy, from the Special Forces, Pascal. If you watch Pascal, the movie, the first part is
nice movie.
Yeah.
the first part
The
of the movie is the hijacking.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's on the ship.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I watched it sometime.
Yeah. So that's about it. We had to improvise because in our planning, we didn't see a situation where we didn't realize that they would storm the ship.
I see. As you said it rightly, there are so many organizations that they do not have an action plan or they have not really prepared for such a scenario. A crisis management plan is not in place or it's not practical, right? But we have many viewers who are interested to get started, all right? If you want to give them, like, let's say 3 advice, all right, this is where you begin. What would those 3 advice look like?
The first advice is the desire to protect your organization. It must come from the top. If you leave it to a crisis manager to prepare documents and all this. That culture doesn't develop. Okay, everybody from top down must realize that the management is serious about having a culture of risk management, crisis management, and business continuity. Okay, so that's the first step. It has to be something that the CEO of the company has to always emphasize. Okay. The second step is, of course, to come up with your risk register and be prepared for every possible scenario. How many companies have a risk register that says if the CEO is hugging a girl in public who is not his wife,
Most importantly,
Oops.
who's not his wife.
who's not his wife, and that video goes viral,
What do you do?
like in the Coldplay concert, right?
Okay.
Now, what happened after that?
Mm.
You saw the crisis that developed from that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not always about fire or anything. It can be just reputational damage that can destroy the organization.
Just like that.
Yeah. So, culture, thinking. The thinking in the organization must always be risk averse, right? We don't want to crisis management plans and drills. Be prepared. Develop a sense of confidence that we are ready.
So the three advice would be culture, plan, and drill. Okay, fantastic. Quite easy to
APD.
understand. Yes.
Yeah. CPD.
Nodri creates the abbreviation for it right away.
CPD, yeah.
Yes. The
No,
acronym for it.
CPR, culture, plan, and readiness.
Oh, readiness. Yeah.
CPR.
CPR.
So if you don't want to, if
just
you
like
don't
the
want to do
CPR.
CPR, you better have this.
I like that.
You already have this as a framework, David? CPR?
Yeah.
So there is an existing.
Literally.
No. It's my kind of.
Okay, we are going to cut out this part. You should include it in your
Hold on.
in your plan.
Yeah. Let's redo this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, literally, it's
Because
like a
he
CPR.
created an abbreviation. So I
CPR,
said
actually,
CPR
you
is
just
better.
Played
You should
along.
use
Right?
it.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah, it's very good.
Crisis.
Actually, you should use this as your own
Planning and
framework.
readiness.
CPR.
Yeah. Crisis.
Culture, plan,
Culture,
and drill.
plan, and readiness.
Readiness.
readiness. Yeah,
CPR.
CPR.
Literally giving a CPR
Correct.
to revive.
Okay.
Nice.
Very
I like
good.
that.
Very good.
I like that.
Okay. Can do it.
In any crisis, you have to pick the right people to handle the crisis. You can't just pick anybody, right?
Yeah.
For example, when we knew the ship was hijacked, I'm going to speak plainly here. I don't know whether you're off camera or on camera.
On camera.
Yeah, okay. So when it got hijacked, the specialist was flown in the next day from Australia, and he came in, and the president asked him what to do, what would you advise? He said, first thing we need to do is get a negotiator. And the negotiator has to have a calm mind, follow the game plan, be prepared to sleep in the office, because this can go on for 6 months, 1 year. You know, he cannot go out and tell people about what we're negotiating about or strategy and all
Should be
this.
contained within the...
Yeah. So I'm sitting here, he's sitting there, and we had a few people around the table. Then my president looks at me and said, find somebody. Okay. So I call up my staff upstairs and say, okay, get all these guys ready. There's going to be an interview. Who I thought would be.
The right candidates. Right.
And then the phone in the next room rings. And that was the first phone call from the pirate.
And you accidentally picked it up. I'm just,
No, so I
just
went into that
predicting.
room. I went into that room and I picked it up, and the captain came on the phone. Mr. David, yeah, captain here, yeah. I said, is everybody okay? No. AB Dumagad was shot during the boarding.
Wow.
I said, where is he now? We have put him into the freezer room.
Oh my goodness.
Okay. I said, okay, is everybody else okay? Yeah, everybody's okay. Mr. David, the pirate wants to talk to you. You know? So he gives the phone to him, and he talks to me, and he says what he wants, his demands. When I finished, I put down the phone. I didn't realize that whole room was standing behind
They
me.
were watching you, basically.
So then we go back into the other room. Then the president said, okay, exactly what he said. So they did it. And then it was almost like 5 o'clock, and all those people I said to wait outside for the interview were waiting. So I asked the guy, when you want to conduct the interview, because it's 5 o'clock, they want to go back home, So he taps my hand and said, I think we found our man.
You're like, who?
And my life changed after that completely.
Wow.
Yeah.
In a way.
Another. There are so many moments, There's so many moments. I'll just tell you some of it. I negotiated for 10 days for the first ship. And I came home one day, and of course I can't tell my wife anything, and she also knows. So, and that day she cooked dal.
That, okay.
We've been eating Kentucky Fried Chicken in the crisis room. Came home. I was just dying for some home cooked food. And she put the plate, the dal, and all that. When I sat in front of the television, switched on CNN, because I'm just waiting to see what news they are. Because they keep throwing up all sorts of news on the hijacking, right? I put my hand in. I can smell the dal. And suddenly the phone rings. It's the duty manager. Mr. David, this ship is getting chased by pirates. It's the second ship.
Second ship.
I said, what? It's being chased by pirates.
Is this like a deja vu or something now? Again?
I put down the plate. I jump into my car. This is about 9:30 at night.
You could only smell the dal. You couldn't even eat it. Wow.
I drove, and on my speed dial was the phone number of commander of the forces in that area who was patrolling the Gulf of Aden. I can't give you his name.
It's okay.
But so I called him and I said, his name is Dave. So I call him Dave. He calls me Dave. And I said, Dave, I need some help. I got another vessel being chased. Do you have any assets in the area to stop the... He says, Dave, I'm sorry to tell you, my UAVs are flying over your ship. Your people are already lined up on deck. There's nothing I can do. I said, please, Dave, you need to help me. No, we can't engage once they're on board. If they're not on board, we can. Once they're on board, we can't. I said, thanks. Put on the phone. It was 10 minutes to the office.
I haven't handled the first one yet, and the second one joins.
Yeah.
My goodness.
It was crazy. So, don't put it in the podcast.
Yeah. Wow.
Because it's one of the stories I will tell during the training.
Training, yeah.
Because I want them to understand the emotions involved when you're in a crisis.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's very important. So capability, selecting the right people, maintaining your emotions, all in the program.
Wow.
That's way more serious than we ever could bargain for.
Wow.
Okay, all right. We laugh about it, and we are enjoying listening to your story as if it was story of like a Hollywood blockbuster or whatnot. But the reality is that it's unimaginable for most people what you have gone through, and the kind of profound impact it has had on your entire career, I could say.
Your life,
right?
in
Your
a way.
life, yeah. Really amazing.
We flew
really
to Djibouti.
amazing.
Djibouti.
Yeah. We flew into Djibouti on the first day of Raya. I negotiated in Mars for a full plane for 48 hours. That's another story in the training that you have to listen to. It's unbelievable. We flew into Djibouti. We booked the whole Kapinski Hotel. Nobody else except us. We flew in 80 crew to substitute with the crew that was coming off the ship. We flew undertakers. We flew 8 trauma consultants. In 48 hours, we got the crew out, we changed crew, we debriefed them, we showered them, we shaved them because we didn't want them to land back here.
Looking like they've been
But all this not
abandoned.
In the podcast, because it's part of the training. Because we flew back. I'm just telling you the story so you understand it, right?
Sure.
At the point of, we owned the plane. we could tell the pilot when to take off, when not to take off. It was Malaysian Airlines, all full crew on. So we waited, and if you had gone that day to KLIA, you would have seen a flight arriving from Djibouti at 6 o'clock in the morning. But we landed at Subang Airport at 4 a.m.
Why?
See, one of the things we told ourselves is we didn't want a media circus. We wanted to be sensitive to the families. So we called the families to come to KL from all around Malaysia, right? We called them to come. And for your information, Terengganu, we had one guy who will travel to Terengganu and visit all the families, buy toys for the children, ask the families, did you get his salary? Do you need money? And we will give them money. And then we will give them a FAQ, updated FAQ. Because press will go and see them and tell me the story, tell me the
If
story.
they win them over, then they will play
Then
into
they will
press's game lah.
The press will bring them and give them a story to put in their head and make a sensation out of it. So our FAQ was there, right? So we brought them all in 2 days before the KL and put them in a hotel, Concord Hotel, if I'm not mistaken. That morning, when we were 100% sure that everybody is out from the ship, because anything can happen there, right?
Yeah.
We took the families, we went knocking on their doors, the team knocked the doors, get into the bus, brought them to that hotel in Subang Jaya there. What's it called? Near Subang Airport. There's a big hotel in Subang Jaya. Put them into the ballroom. Plane landed at Subang.
Oh, near the Subang SJMC, near the
Near
SJMC.
the SCMC there. After that, there's
Yes,
a hotel,
yes,
right? Yeah. Plane landed at 4 a.m.
Grant something. Yeah, okay.
Landed at 4 a.m. Some of the company bosses came up, said hello to the captains and all that. Got everybody off the plane, put them into buses. Plane went out and took off again to land in KLIA. Press that were waiting at KLIA, those that leaked out information, saw only baggage. The crew, meanwhile, was already in the hotel, behind locked doors, in the ballroom, crying and hugging their families.
Without media, without all these external parties, just them.
And what's the lesson learned here for organizations that attend the training? You have to deal with this the right way.
Yes. If you straight landed in KLIA, it would be
and
a
there was a
different
captain
story.
who was during the hijacking very, very vocal and threatening us and all that, right? So he said, Mr. David, I want to go up to the mic and say something. I said, okay, don't tell me he's going to go and make some...
That's it, man, go on.
Right? So I tell my boss, the president, I said, he wants to go. He said, you sure? I said, yeah, I think he's okay lah, He went up there. He went up there and he said, I've worked in other shipping companies before, but I want to tell all of y'all, there is no other company in the world who would do this for us. I'm going to tell my friends to join this company.
Wow.
See how you take a negative and turn it into a positive.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, and during the training, I would say your organization can make a positive. Even look at Asia crash. Who was on the ground? Tony Fernandez was on the ground. Minimal damage. In fact, I think they had a good reputational uptake on that.
After that, after he handled it well.
In Djibouti, in Kapinski Hotel, when we got them shaved and everything, the captain, we debriefed them to tell them why it took 43 days. Because people thought you can easily transfer money and millions of dollars in cash.
And that's it.
And that's it. Within 2-3 days, you'll be out. Right? So we had to tell them what was the process. So we debriefed the crew. And then this captain, the ship where, 2 ships, right? The ship where the guy got shot. Okay? That captain got up. He was a 60-year-old Filipino captain. He got up and he said, I didn't do the debriefing. I was sitting at the side. There was a colleague of mine who was debriefing. And he said, I am very angry. I'm an old man. Okay. Am I allowed to use 4-letter words here?
Sure, no
Sure.
problem. Yeah.
Because the ladies are outside. So,
It's okay.
okay. So,
Close your ears.
so he said, I'm very angry. I'm an old man. That day, one of the days, after talking to Mr. David, the pirate took me up to the bridge wing, made me kneel down and put his gun to my head and said, I just finished talking to David, and David told me to go and fuck my mother. Now you will die because of that,
Wow.
which never happened. 1, 2, 3, shot above his head.
To scare him.
He was just messing with it.
By the end of the 43 days, when we boarded the ship, written everywhere, David is the real pirate. The crew, the Stockholm syndrome, the crew started feeling sympathetic for them. You know? So it was quite. That's why when you come for the training, it'll be the room will be mesmerized. Too many stories to tell you.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's
Yes, yes. I told you this is going to be a serious
Yes, yeah.
episode. Yes, I changed the entire
Script.
set of questions that we had. The entire questions after I got your intro, which was this morning. So we were like, oh no. We are not doing these. We want to hear David's story.
yeah.
I had no doubt it's going to be much longer than can fit within the given time frame of doing a podcast.
It's not your
But it's
usual
okay.
training program of finance or
Oh,
whatever.
no,
It's
no,
not
no.
Nah,
really.
it is
This
not.
is a niche.
Yes. David, thank you so much for joining us today. It was fantastic and we learned a lot.
David, thank you for being here today and sharing your amazing story with us. We have learned that crisis management is something that you cannot afford to be reactive to. Rather, you should be proactive, prepared with your crisis readiness checklist. Your insights today remind us that on top of having a system in place, crisis leadership is about learning how to remain courageous and calm when everything around you is falling apart.
Thank you, Hamid. Thank you, Nadir.
Thank you.
I'm happy to be here and happy to share my experience with you guys. Yes, looking forward to seeing you all again soon.
Audio